All right, I think we're live. So welcome everyone to another Matt Maran Motoring live stream here on the Matt Maran Motoring YouTube channel. Hope you're all having a great weekend here. Thanks so much for hanging out here on a Saturday night, a little bit of a different time than usual here, but thanks so much for stopping by here on a Saturday night. Hope you're all doing great. Hope you're having a good holiday here so far. Happy holidays to all of you. And we'll get right into the questions here. So like all the other usual live streams, we're going to go for about 2 hours or so. I give priority answering to anyone who does a super chat or a super thanks, as well as anyone who's a member there with the green usernames. They always get that priority answering. If you would also like that, there's always a link in the description. Thanks so much, Brian, already for gifting a few memberships here. I really appreciate that. And Grand Admiral Thrawn, thank you so much for gifting a membership as well. I really appreciate the generosity, everyone. And glad to see some familiar faces there, and I think possibly some new ones as well, able to get some memberships. And so I see Kevin, Brian, Grand Admiral Thrawn there, B. Mitchell, Wheatman, Brian, Cars, and Mr. 705, Austin. Austin says, let's get Danny Cohen a membership. Yeah, I'll have to remember that the username is not just Danny, it's Danny Cohen. Fingers crossed that Danny gets one though this time. And let me see. And a Ford enthusiast here, Cam Jam, Joe, Platinum OG, Harsha. Thanks so much for stopping by, everyone. So let me see. Everyone just saying hello. B. Mitchell says greetings from the semi-thawed out for now MSP area. Yeah, it's been strange. We kind of, had this cold spell, and now it's warmed up again here. Just taking an evening walk, and it was like 50 some degrees, very nice. So I guess that's a national phenomenon in some ways. It's funny that it's also warming up there. Let me silence my watch here. Everyone else saying a happy Saturday here, happy holidays. Brian says, no cool car spotted this week. Surprised because it was 50 degrees today and yesterday. Okay, so where you are, it's warm too. It's funny. And 705's from Ontario, Canada here. Thanks for saying hi and stopping by. Ford enthusiast says, hey, Matt, lease deals on Mach-E are not that cheap. $5,000 down for $535 per month. Interesting. You must live somewhere that is not kind to EVs or something. That's surprising because I actually, in my area, there's lease deals $399 0 down. Now that doesn't include tax, title, and all that stuff. So realistically, it'd probably be like $450 or something. But no, they're like $400 a month here with nothing down. It's mostly a dealer thing. Sometimes the manufacturer discounts recently I've noticed for EVs aren't amazing. But dealers, actual dealer level stuff, they're really willing to kick in more because they're a little more desperate. I think they get stuff off their lots. So it's unfortunate that they're not that great of a deal in your area, though, because they are dealing, at least in my area, which is kind of surprising. But Cara says, Matt, I really enjoyed your weekly update with your list of favorites. Speaking of favorites, one of my favorite acceleration reactions of all time was the 800 horsepower 2017 Yenko Camaro in April of 2017. Yeah, that one was one of the wildest ones. I had never driven anything that powerful before. And that was a fun one. I know I think that's the one that I used for the little emoji that you can do as a member, with like my eyes almost bulging out of their sockets. That was so extreme. That was from that one because I agree. I think that is probably arguably the craziest reaction I've ever had. There's some that are very, very much up there, equal, but I think that one probably takes the cake in my opinion as well. Let me see. I see Brian says it's tougher than a lottery pick to get Danny a membership. Yeah, I wish YouTube would change that so it'd be a little more power over who is able to get them, or at least make it a little more relevant and have people that are actually in the live stream for sure. Let me see. And Cam Jam says aloha. And Joe asks when Lexus is refreshing the IS. I haven't heard much about IS, honestly. I think a year or two ago, I heard some kind of a rumor about something, but honestly, I don't know. I think it's been fairly dead as far as even rumors for that car. Obviously sedans aren't super popular these days, but I feel like Lexus, it would be worthwhile for them to keep it around. There's probably a little bit of a case to be made for just leaving ES instead. That is going to be most likely what most Lexus sedan buyers are going to be happy with, and obviously sells better than IS for sure. And I feel like if they were to do a new gen IS, it would probably get pretty close to ES in size anyway. So I feel like, kind of combining a next gen ES and IS and kind of just making them kind of one thing or something, so there's not as much overlap, I think might be the way things play out. I'm not sure though. That is one vehicle that I have like zero clue, zero ideas on as far as what to speculate beyond that. I wish I had more info. Sorry, Joe. Austin says, hey Matt, what was your Christmas haul? Not a whole lot. Beth and I did kind of buy each other new Apple Watches was the main thing that we had Apple Watch Series 4s that weren't even eligible to get the new software updates anymore. So probably should, they were working fine, but we got those. So that was kind of like an early Christmas gift we got for each other. And then otherwise just, small little things here and there, some gift cards. And my in-laws are very good at thrifting. So some of the most exciting gifts for me are just like, they find like just incredible oddball stuff at thrift stores, whether it's like brand new, super nice shirts with tags on them or, various other knickknacks here. So a bunch of fun little things. But these days it's mostly the focus is on our daughter, and it's way more fun to see her get a bunch of stuff and see the reactions and all that. So the whole family is kind of pivoted to just focusing on our daughter, and that's the way it should be. So I'm always excited about that. So but I hope everyone else had a great Christmas, those of you who celebrate. And two, thank you so much for stopping by, being a member for 31 months now. I really appreciate that too. He says, oh boy, what's new next year? New lore? Will Danny finally join the basement? Will Peter come? Will someone new drop music in the basement? We'll see. Yeah, I don't know. I think you might be alone there with dropping songs in the Discord. I don't know if anyone will join you, but never say never, I guess. We will see what is in store for the basement in 2025. I might want to come down there and join you too, depending on how 2025 goes. That'll be my safe space. But thanks so much too for joining in, and hope you're doing well. And let me see. I see Platinum says, hey, Matt, I enjoy your content. I appreciate that. Thanks so much for watching it. Grand Admiral Thrawn says, I saw a Rivian R1S a few weeks ago. Pretty cool looking. Yeah, I'm actually excited. I will be getting a Rivian R1T to review here. I'm actually going to start getting press vehicles from Rivian. Obviously, they don't have that many, but hopefully going to get an R1S and an R1T here to review this coming year. And I'm excited to have a Rivian on the schedule now and finally get a chance to try it out and see, obviously I see so many around here, especially they're very popular. So I'm glad that'll be one vehicle I'll finally be able to cover here and actually spend a lot of time with it. Platinum asks if I ever have driven a Noble. I've never driven one. They've always been pretty cool, but yeah, never had an opportunity. Cam says, I was in North Dakota last week and it was warmer there than back home in Southern Maryland. Crazy. That's bizarre. And Harsher says, electric scooters and cars are selling well here. Seen a couple of BYD EVs. Oh, sorry, I missed your first comment there. He said, I'm in India right now. Definitely a different experience compared to the US. That's awesome. Well, I hope you enjoy your time over there. I watched, I think it was last year, James May did Our Man in India, and it was really cool to, kind of experience it through him in a way. That was a really cool show, and just to show a little snippet of, what life might be like there. And so that's awesome. Hope you're enjoying it though. And it's cool that you can see some different stuff, the cars and stuff. I'd be curious to check out a BYD. I'm very curious because India is really I think gonna be, I'm surprised more car companies don't focus on India, to be honest, because it is such a massive amount of people. I think it's second largest in the world, right? Or maybe it is actually now the largest. I'm not sure, but it's kind of crazy that like China has like their own kind of car market and stuff. And I know there's a lot of India specific vehicles, but it's kind of surprising that there isn't more overlap, in my opinion, that there isn't more of a dedicated focus on vehicles there, since it is such a massive country. And Raphael says 59 degrees today, so I put on the winter wheels and gave the car a good wash. That's awesome. Well, yeah, it's sad time to switch over to the winter wheels, I'm sure, but hope it was still a nice car wash day for you there, Raphael. And Grant says it got to 51 degrees here in South Central Montana. Montana's 51. Wow, that is, yeah. I don't know. Maybe I just have selective memory, but this does not seem normal. Like it just seems like things are, yeah, a little different than they used to be. And let me see. Floor Enthusiast says Long Island. That's surprising because I feel like New York kind of incentivizes EVs more than a lot of other states. So that's strange that there's no love there for the lease deals for the Mach-E at least. And let me see. MTB says, what would you say is the best used car? Kona N, Veloster N, Sonata N line. I'd have to look at pricing for all three to say. I don't know really how they're priced. I know that Veloster N doesn't depreciate much these days for a nice clean one, at least with a performance package. So I might have to see how the other two depreciate. Yeah, I wish I had a better answer for you there. But yeah, and Kona N's pretty rare, so I'd say Kona N might be one of the most collectible ones. Veloster N's up there though too. Sonata N line, I'm guessing, might be the one that depreciates the fastest since it's not a full-blown N. And it just comes down to what you need and what you want. I mean, not having a limited slip diff in the front of the Sonata means that if you are in any kind of weather, especially snowy weather, it's going to be wheel spin city. I mean, in a fun way, but whenever you're actually trying to get home in a snowy day, it's not great. I know I had a Sonata N line for a week a few years back in the winter time, and it was so bad with the wheel spin that like whenever there was a snowy day, I didn't take the Sonata because I wasn't confident in its ability to get home if I did encounter like actual snow covered roads, because it's just like so eager to spin the tires even in dry summer days. So if you live in a place though where you don't experience any kind of bad weather, Sonata N line, I'm guessing, would probably be the best value. Otherwise, I'd argue probably something with an LSD would be a better way to go with the actual true ends there. So hopefully that helps you a little bit. And let me see. Rafi says, hi, Matt. Happy holidays and Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you and all of you as well. Thanks so much for stopping by, Rafi. And Grand Amarathon, thank you so much for gifting 5 memberships there. Really appreciate it. Happy to see some familiar faces once again able to rejoin and possibly some new ones as well. I see Colby also says, wait, it's not Sunday. I just got tripped out and thought I had to work tomorrow. Sorry to throw you off. Yeah, just I'm going to be hanging with some people here tomorrow, so I'm not going to be able to live stream tomorrow. So that's why I switched it to today. I'm happy that so many of you are able to also join here. I think it's a little less people than we usually have in here, but that's totally okay. I'm happy that so many of you are able to join still nonetheless. And let me see. Zachary also, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate the little emojis there. Yeah, I'd like to do more of those. I have to find, if you guys have any like to nominate for emojis you would like to see. Appreciate the little emojis there as well. But yeah, and all the love and stuff. It's fun to see all the instant feedback. But yeah, if you guys have any other ideas for emojis, I'm all ears. Always happy to make them. They're not hard to make. So if there's anything you'd like to use as an emoji, let me know. Let me see. Brian says, used to watch your weekly updates, Matt, before I watched your car reviews. Hopefully your new tactic works for increased views. Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, and I really appreciate all the feedback you guys gave in the weekly update. I'm still working on getting through all the comments because there are so many of them. And so if I didn't get to your comment yet and I didn't respond, or I didn't respond to a response, I will get to it eventually. It takes a little bit of time to work through here on the weekends when I'm not on my computer or on my phone as much as I usually am during the weekdays. But I really appreciate the support, and it's great to hear that. Yeah, that's something you guys are excited about, open to, and even the interior reviews. Yeah, I think doing that pre-embargo could make a lot of sense. And I know someone actually suggested doing the interior reviews not only as like a standalone thing pre-embargo, because my concern is I still want the regular review to be a one-stop shop, because all of these segmented videos age terribly. They're great for car enthusiasts that want to see stuff before the embargo, that are antsy, that are following the car world, but that's confusing 6 months after the fact for some random person just trying to get information on a car they're shopping for. So I think it makes sense to do the interior review as a separate segment, and that still can age well, being something that, people just wanted to see the interior, they can watch that, and that's still fine. But I think someone suggested, which I hadn't thought of before, still taking that same video and putting it within the full review, and still having the full review contain exterior, interior, driving, and all that, and obviously I'll have to do slightly different intros for the interior reviews dedicated thing versus the integrated one. But basically taking that same segment, plopping it right into the regular review, so that it still is a one-stop shop for those that get annoyed about having to click around and find 10 videos to get all the information they want. So that was really a great little bit of advice there as well. And, happy that you guys are up for all that. And I got some other great ideas as well to potentially, try out. And so, so thank you all so much. It's always great, especially towards the end of the year here. And even especially like when I did my bullet video saying goodbye to that and talking about the struggles on the channel, so much support. I really appreciate so many people that commented and said, I never comment, but I'm commenting here to say, thanks so much. And I watch and I really enjoy, and that really makes a difference to me, because that's, I see a lot of familiar faces, and there's so many people I recognize you guys every time that you comment, and I really appreciate that, dedicated support as well. But seeing some of the other, people that, I don't usually see on their commenting, seeing them coming out and being like, yes, like, we are real people. It's not just numbers and views. It's like, these are real people that also genuinely really enjoy the weekly update. Here's how they enjoy them, or here's how these videos have helped me. It kind of makes what I do feel a little less small, and feel like it is, affecting a few more people than I, sometimes think it does. And so I always appreciate all that support. So thank you all so much for all that on the video yesterday. Let me see. Steve's asking, any word on new Lexus LFR, like pricing, specs, release date? Nothing. I don't know anything about that, unfortunately. And Harsha says there's a Suzuki dealer, one which is a scooter dealer and the other is a car dealer. That's fun. Yes, Suzuki actually has a few cool things in addition to the Jimny. I'm sure you probably see a lot of Jimnys around there, which makes every American very jealous, because that's like the one thing everyone wishes we'd have here. And B. Mitchell says, looking forward to hearing Matt rant about Rivian not having Apple CarPlay. Yeah, especially because Rivian CEO is very bold about, like, we're doing it better. This is great. We don't need CarPlay, blah, blah, blah. You know me, I don't pull punches. If it is truly as great as he says it is, I'll be the first to admit I was wrong. But if it's not as good as CarPlay, which is my suspicion, but I'm going into it with open mind, but I will let them have it. Be like, this isn't as good. They're full of crap. Only Rivian, fanboys are going to be okay with this. They have a point though. Tesla's gotten away with it for many years. Rivian has gotten away with it. They have solid sales and they've been fine. I think the GM stuff is selling okay. And from a few people I've heard that have gotten those, it doesn't seem like it's the end of the world for them. It comes down to, like I said in my Blazer EV video, what your usage case is. How much do you use your phone? What apps do you use on your phone while you're driving? If you're all in the Apple ecosystem and you use every Apple app, for all those things like I do, it's probably going to be a little bit more annoying than people that, use a bunch of other apps anyway that they can download through the Play Store, and it's not as big of a deal. So everyone's mileage will vary there, but yeah, I'll always tell it like it is from my standpoint, and it is what it is. But let me see. DS3 says tariffs are backfiring. I'm not sure which tariffs you're referring to in particular, but I am I hear various things, and I will avoid politics as much as I possibly can, even if it does overlap cars. It's going to be one of my challenges for 2025 is trying to cover the things that need to be covered, but avoiding the things that don't need to be covered, especially for the weekly updates, because it's going to affect the car industry a lot. We will have to wait and see just how much. But Harsha says it's 71 degrees in my village right now. That sounds very comfy and very relaxing. I'm jealous of the temps there. Trying Truck and Car Guy, thanks for stopping by. Grant says it's not normal here for sure. I don't remember it ever being this warm here in December. Yeah. And Harsha said definitely escape the cold weather in Seattle. And Brian says, besides a child, besides a child, do you and wifey have a pet? Yeah, we have 2 cats. They're Maine Coons, named Daisy and Pippa, and they're very cute. And so usually whenever Beth comes onto the live stream, sometimes she'll bring them in because they like following her around. They're like her shadow sometimes. Unfortunately, Beth won't be able to join tonight. She's got too much other stuff she's got to do to prepare for all of our fun hangout stuff we're going to be doing tomorrow. But she will be joining soon, hopefully sometime in January. She'll be able to come onto a live and get to chat with everyone again. Let me see. Cara says, have you ever read The Reckoning by David Halberstam about the history of Nissan in Japan and Ford in the United States? About 10 years ago, a coworker loaned me his copy and it was very interesting. I've never heard of that. Thanks for the recommendation. I'll have to check that out. And Decepticon, thanks for stopping by, and Q Dude. And Goth Rocker says, not that they are rare, but saw 5 Cybertrucks yesterday. Also a classic 1994 Rio Honda Prelude with a 4-wheel steering. Guy bought it brand new, drives it still, 130,000 miles. I love stories like that. That is so awesome. People just continue to just support those kinds of cars. There's another car I just read about, someone else that like bought a car and just drove the wheels off of it. I can't remember what it was. It was a cool story. Oh, did you guys I don't know if you saw, it's been making the rounds in the past week or two. There's like little Japanese lady that had an FD-RX-7 and bought it new, drove it all these years, and she's now like 70 years old or something, and has decided to turn in her license and not drive anymore. And the car got donated to the Mazda Museum there in Japan, and just so cool. And it's hilarious imagining a grandma, little, a cute Japanese lady driving around with this manual transmission RX-7, especially these days. Coolest grandma ever, if she's a grandma. But so that just fun, whenever you hear stories like that. And that was what I wanted to do with the Bullet. And I wanted that car to be the car that I bought brand new, kept forever, handed down, drove it, until my fingers fell off or whatever, but, it wasn't in the cards for me. Hopefully, that can be something someday. Maybe I either get reunited with the Bullet or something like that. But yeah, it's always fun to hear those stories. Justin says, definitely need a whiskey glass emoji. Yeah, I think I can do that one. Hopefully YouTube wouldn't have an issue with like an alcohol emoji. I feel like sometimes they're a little iffy about stuff like that, but if not, then I agree. I will have to make a note of that because obviously there's just like already a whiskey emoji, so I literally can just copy and paste the Apple one and put that in there, and that should do the trick. But I guess you could probably do that when you're on your own too, if you're on your keyboard. But maybe if I can do like my own whiskey glass, or me holding a whiskey glass, maybe like a cheers kind of thing, something like that. Maybe I can give it a try next time I do a whiskey toast. I haven't done one in a while. I was debating doing one for the end of the Durango 392 that I talked about here 2 weeks ago. But I was like, the Hellcat's still around, and so I decided not to do a toast for that one. But we lost a lot of awesome cars this year, but a lot of them were earlier in the year when I was doing a lot of toasting and haven't done any since. But maybe for the next one. I see Zachary's got the cheers there with his whiskey emoji already, but it'd be fun to do my own, I suppose. Let me see. Power Toy says, will we get a Firebird? With the death of the Camaro, I really hope we get Pontiac power. That would be fun. I think it's really hard to say, if before this whole shakeup with the EV reception, back when everyone was full steam ahead with EVs, GM teased a 2-door silhouette on top of the Ultium platform. And everyone just assumed next-gen Camaro was going to be electric, and that was kind of the easy assumption, made sense, and was a natural progression there, basically, based on how everyone's going. But now, obviously, the tables have turned, and everything is kind of different now. So, I wouldn't put it past them to still doing one more gas one, possibly. They already confirmed C9 Corvette. I don't know if it was confirmed officially, but I think there was, rumors and reports. And I thought even like a press or like a financial report kind of thing, there was some confirmation that's next gen Corvette was still going to have V8. I know they're still doing V8s in the trucks, I think all the way up till 2035, if not beyond that. So V8s are still going to be built. And I don't know how long they plan to keep the Blackwings around for, but the CT5 and CT4 are on the Alpha platform, like the Camaro, and that platform was evolved for CT4 and CT5 because Camaro shares the original Alpha platform that was shared with ATS and CTS. So there is a already developed, if they just take the underpinnings from CT5, make a new Camaro, I mean, you have all the same powertrain options as Blackwing. And I'm sure they'd, be able to just put a regular naturally aspirated V8 in there as well. I don't think it would be that hard. I don't know. I guess, and Chevy's probably scrambling to maybe pivot to doing something like that, possibly, depending on, again, car companies cannot change for every presidential administration. But if they see that there is not only just a change of 4 years of policy, but also that like the EU is pushing back and there's more iffiness about the 2035 deadlines and stuff elsewhere in the world, then this could be something that suggests to car companies that this isn't just a Republican thing that's going to last for 4 years and then get flipped again if the tides change, but that it's also going to possibly be a global pushback in a lot of ways that could maybe give them a little bit of confidence to pivot and not worry about getting burned if this doesn't continue down this path of lax EPA regulations for forever and ever. So it's just a gamble. I am not jealous of these car companies that have to figure this stuff out because it's truly a gamble, and this is kind of what we're seeing. Is some of these gambles not playing off? Like Stellantis was very smart with doing the multi-powertrain stuff to enable Charger to have that flexibility, and that's very good. But you also now are seeing, like I just saw some spy shots pop up recently of the Jeep Recon, the electric Wrangler of sorts, and it's like that car was a great idea 2 years ago whenever it was conceived, but it's like now it's going to enter a world where are people going to want that? Right now, maybe they'll want it in a few years, and sure, you'll have some early adopters, but is there mass appeal for that? I don't think there is. But that's the problem with this stuff, is it takes so long to bring these things to market, and if you have a quick shift like we just had, it's a real rug pull for these car companies, and and that's why we have companies spiraling and freaking out and stuff, because they are not used to instability. Car companies need stability, they need predictability to make sure that, because it just takes too long to make a car, and so that's what these companies want the most. They don't care what the regulations are. They just want to know what to expect, and they can't, because, you have polar opposites from a policy standpoint, and there's no middle ground to play here. It's just, do we make gas guzzlers? Do we make EVs? Obviously a lot of people like the hybrids, and you can consider that as a middle ground. So everyone's kind of going towards that and hoping that can't really burn them. But, then what do you do if, there is a second wave of EV adoption and batteries get stupid cheap and everyone wants them, or BYD comes in, then it's like they are just going to destroy the market because no one else is going to have a compelling EVs if everyone abandons them. From an OEM standpoint, then you are caught, in a bad spot. So it's it's tough. So yeah, I'd love to see more sporty stuff. I think if anything, we will see a Camaro return with V8 power for at least a few years, even if it's just, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised, especially if it's a custom tailored thing just for 4 years, just to play it safe. If they literally like restart Camaro production, slap a new front end and back end on it and call it good. I mean, that's probably harder to do, but they may actually even just do something like that. Again, we'll just have to wait and see. I'm very curious to hear, how that all plays out. And I'd love to, be a fly on the wall with those conversations that I'm sure are possibly happening, some of these car companies. Anyway, Sean, thank you so much for a super chat. Sorry for the wait. He says, I'm at work, can't stick around. Just want to say I hope you, Beth, baby, and all the viewers have a great new year. I really appreciate that, Sean. Thanks so much for stopping by. Thank you for the super chat. I hope you have a great new year as well. And thank you so much for your support of, over 2 years here now, Sean. It really means a lot. And I know for many of you, you're coming up on probably 3 years here pretty soon of support of the channel. And I really appreciate that. And I hope work goes well for you as well, Sean. Let me see. Where were we here? Harsha says, one of my cousins bought a brand new Nissan Magnet, or Magnite, maybe. Think of it as a Kicks alternative. He got a gas 5-speed car. Wow, that's awesome. Very cool. Grant says, I've been watching you since at least 2018. I've always enjoyed watching your videos and your honest thoughts. Keep up the great work. I appreciate that. Thanks so much for the support all these years. And I'm glad you appreciate the honest thoughts there. It's getting rarer and rarer on YouTube these days. Or at least even human thoughts with so much AI crap. I don't know about you guys, but like I've had to constantly on YouTube be like, don't recommend this channel, don't recommend this channel, don't recommend this channel. To like all these other BS AI car channels that are just complete fabrications of completely unrealistic, just crap. And I'm like, man, guess it's paying off for somebody, but it's just, man, I hate that the way YouTube is. It sounds like they're cracking down on clickbait. Hopefully, I really hope that they do it pretty aggressively, because it's just turning into the National Enquirer pretty quickly here. It's been not in a great direction for a long time with the crappy content, but it just seems like it's been getting worse. Let me see here. Harsha says they did launch the new Camry Hybrid here in India. However, it's 60 lakhs to dollars. That's 73 grand. Wow, why is it so expensive? That's bizarre. I guess there's something I'm missing there as far as why they would make it so expensive. It can't be that hard to like bring over or import or whatever, unless there's is there a ton of taxes contributing to that or something? That's crazy. Austin says, hey Matt, I heard that Mini BMW canceled plans to move Mini EV production to the UK. I wonder if the Mini brand is in trouble. Interesting. I had not heard that. Now I gotta marinate on that for a second here. Interesting. Well, that sucks, because that means we'll never, I guess unless the tariffs are thrown out as far as prohibiting, Chinese built stuff from coming here. But if that doesn't get thrown out, then it means we'll never get the new Cooper Electric, which the first gen I thought was actually really cool. I enjoyed it. I was on the media drive for that actually. And yeah, I like those things. That's a bummer if that turns out to be the case. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know if it's the Mini brand that's in trouble. I'm sure it's probably just them trying to play the politics, and I don't know if that's also a global decision as far as or if it's just a pay issue of just I don't know what that is. It's interesting. I think BMW is doing better than at least Volkswagen and some of the others there, so I hope that they're doing all right. But yeah, could be. At this point, it's all bets are off. As far as these brands, they're all seems like struggling in some way or another. And I see Mr. TPA Florida says RS6 wagon or new M5 hybrid wagon if you had to pick. I've not driven the new M5, so I can't say for sure, but I love RS6 wagon. Don't love the way M5 looks or the interior, so I go RS6 wagon personally. Brian says, what country have you been? What country have you been that was really cool for a car launch? I've actually never done an international car launch. They've all been in the States here. But as far as, trying to think of like the coolest car launch that I've actually been to. I don't know. There's been some cool like auto show stuff. It was pretty wild. Like when they debuted the new Shelby GT500, they literally like dropped it out of the ceiling. That was kind of fun. And seeing the Ford GT supercar back in 2015, that was a huge shock, because no one that at least I knew of, like nobody knew that car was coming. Like nobody, no rumors, nothing. And we're sitting there, and they debuted, I think, Explorer ST and Focus, I think a different version of the Focus RS. And then they roll, and there's like a Raptor, and then they roll out the 4 GT, and like being there in person, seeing that car for the first time was just wild. I also was there for the launch of the Acura NSX for this, last generation. That was cool. Like seeing like Jerry Seinfeld and Jay Leno like showing up there for that, and all kinds of cool people I was able to bump into at the auto shows. I think that's what I really miss is the heyday of the auto shows. It was so cool on those media days in particular. So many cool people. I know like Ian Callum was there for Jag one year, and I literally got to like say like thank you for making the F-Type so awesome, and like getting to meet the designer of the F-Type even in passing was mind-blowing. I mean, so many cool things like that. As far as the drive launches, I mean, there's been some really cool ones. Honestly, I think one of the coolest ones so far was this one I just did with Nissan in Nashville. Just because Nashville is obviously very much a music town, especially if you're into country music. I'm not into country music personally, but it's just, a very musical place. It's very fun for that. And Nissan actually rented out Dark Horse Studios, which is where a bunch of like big name recording artists have recorded a lot of amazing albums. Even like Taylor Swift recorded her first album there, but a bunch of music soundtracks and all kinds of stuff have been recorded there. And so like we were able to like, they had like a demo for the Klipsch stereo that the new Armada has in the basement. There was like in the garage, like our Armada park there. We are doing like a sound demo with the Klipsch stereo. But like, so we were able to like roam around the house and like check it out. And it's like the people that have been in here, there's like a piano there and like right next to the kitchen. And it's like all the like, because they actually will stay at this house. It's not just like a place where you go and sing and then go home. Like it's like a full blown house, and then like hang out, in there while they're, doing their creative process or whatever. And so like being in the house, like the amount of star power that has been in this house, it's just kind of wild. So that was really cool. And even like the night before, they hired a couple of songwriters that they themselves are not famous unless you're super into the music world. But they've written a bunch of these famous songs. And like the one guy was like telling us like before he started playing, he's like, yeah, I was like hanging out in a pool in Florida with Kelsey Ballerini and so-and-so. And, we just started like working on this song. And then she calls up Kenny Chesney at midnight and was like, I want to feature you on this song, blah, blah, blah. And it's like all these wild stories. It's like, those are the types of things that I appreciate on, these kinds of launches is experiences and people that I get to meet and things that I get to do that I normally wouldn't get to do. The cars themselves are very impressive. And most of these press launches, it's just about you show up, you drive a car, and that's it. And, that's honestly plenty of fun on its own, getting to go down the drag strip, getting to, have a track day, getting to, do all these fun off-roading things, going on motocross tracks and going off jumps in a, Tacoma TRD, all these things are, fun things I wouldn't get to do otherwise as well. But sometimes it's fun when they build in a little bit of like non-car cool stuff as well to just kind of, just again, provide us all with experiences we otherwise wouldn't have. And that's the things that I feel very fortunate about is things that I would never have been able to go into this famous recording studio, otherwise. And so those are the kind of things that I really appreciate, I think, on a lot of these launches recently, because otherwise they all blend together. It's always, nice hotel, yummy food, impressive drives, most of the time, pretty impressive cars. It's all, pretty predictable for a lot of that stuff, but whenever there's out of the ordinary things, that's always fun. Grant says a Mark IV Supra as an emote. Okay. that could be something. Maybe do a few car ones would be cool. Goth Rocker says 41 degrees here in northeastern area of PA, just outside of Scranton. Very, very foggy. Yeah, we had a lot of fog today too. Power Toy says I'm in Pittsburgh and we have a lot of Cybertrucks. Any reason? I don't know. I think they're just kind of all over the place everywhere these days, it seems. So yeah, and I think, Pittsburgh, I guess, is a little friendlier to EVs, since we are, a city and suburban kind of area that's built up, from an infrastructure standpoint pretty well. So I think, you're going to see a few more EVs than somewhere in the middle of nowhere, so there's that helping them, but that's not unique to Cybertruck, obviously. But I don't know. I do see a lot of them though. I see At this point, I'm sad to say, I see almost one a day, sometimes more. So yeah, I mean, at least they're finally building them. It was a rumored thing and this, far off thing for such a long time, and it's, at least they finally kept their word and were able to start filling orders on those things. And Jordan, thank you so much for a super chat. He says CNBC just posted a segment: Microsoft, Amazon, and Meta heavily investing in nuclear technology. Possible distant future vehicle propulsion tech in the works. No. What I heard about the nuclear thing just in the past couple of days here is that they are thinking about firing up more nuclear plants just to keep up with the power demands of AI. AI is extremely power intensive, and this and crypto are both such energy hogs. They are so bad with emissions and the amount of power that is required to keep AI and crypto stuff going. They're so bad for the environment, both of those things. And so it's literally like people are worried about EVs stressing out the grid. EV's got nothing on AI and crypto for as far as draining the grid. And they're saying that it's actually like, I read an article, I think just this morning, about how it's actually making the grid experience and electricity demands worse. And there's a lot of places they're starting to have blackouts, not because of EVs, but because of AI and crypto crap that's just draining the grid of electricity. So yeah, like even there's a famous reactor not too far from here called 3 Mile Island that melted down famously, I think in like the 80s or something, and had an issue. They're thinking about firing that back up. Yeah, so we're literally going to be running nuclear energy just to keep our stupid AI crap going and keep crypto going. It's yeah, and this is why, it's so funny people again give EVs crap and they overlook all these other glaring things that that are going on. So yes, nuclear stuff is entirely because of, again, AI is in its infancy and it's already a gigantic power hog. Just wait until it's, everywhere and everything all the time. Buckle up for that. It's, I don't know why we do this to ourselves as a civilization and keep introducing things that are just like bad for us in multiple ways. But anyway, yeah, that is nuclear stuff right there. It's all just about needing that power to ramp up fast because AI is exploding fast. Fastest way to start making more electricity while we wait for all the other, sources to come online slowly but surely and wait for costs to come down on this stuff. It's like, we're getting desperate. Let's fire up all the nukes. So, yeah. Thanks so much for the super chat, Jordan. And let me see. Harsha says, in India, they have a 100% import duty for cars built outside the country. All right. Well, that explains it then, because I guess 73, if you cut that in half, that's about, the price of a regular Camry. So that makes sense. And B. Mitchell says, more like you should do a toast for Tim Kuniskis returning to RAM. I am excited to see him return. I'm very curious to see, how he does things, because, I think he kind of does see both sides of things. Again, he's the one who introduced us to Charger EV. He's also the one that introduced us to the Hellcat. So, I'm very curious to see, what he does. I'm really happy with his idea to bring forward Ram Charger and delay Ram Rev. I think that makes a ton of sense. So that's, cool. And I hope that, he does well with Ram, and hope they, can help lead Stellantis to better days, between them and hopefully Dodge. We'll see what happens. And let me see. Brian says, GM Authority site advised that 2025 CT5E Blackwings were built but not delivered yet. I think it's the same emissions issues that hampered Amira deliveries. Interesting. I hadn't heard that. I'm not sure what would be holding them up. There are some times where it is just, an emission issue. We're getting it registered. Sometimes there is just delays in some of those things, just paperwork and, just jumping through hoops and stuff. So I'm guessing it's something like that that's holding it up for sure. And so I'm sure that'll all get streamlined once the EPA gets dissolved. They can just do whatever, and maybe they'll get rid of certifying these powertrains. We'll see. And let me see. Daryl says, did you hear that they're considering offering a manual transmission in the C8 Corvettes, or is that just a rumor? I'm guessing that's just a rumor and not a good one. I mean, unless there's a real different shift in Yeah, there's basically the way that I understand it, it's impossible to put a manual in the C8, at least from an OEM quality, safety, and quality standpoint. The problem is the center spine that runs through the C8 Corvette that gives a lot of its rigidity and structural strength. That spine you cannot cut into to make space for a manual transmission. That's my understanding. Is they said there will never be a manual. There's no way to do a manual in this car properly, safely, and that it is not it's not even a remote possibility. It's like zero chance of happening, is what I heard. Again, I mean, never say never, I suppose. Maybe something has changed, but I'm not sure where you heard that, but I'm inclined to think that is just BS because it's something people want to hear. And a lot of car news these days is just telling people fun rumors that they want to hear and doing stuff that's going to get clicks. So I'm assuming that's unfortunately probably not a real thing. And I see Brian says he got some 18th scale cars for Christmas. That's awesome. Yeah, I didn't actually get any models myself, but yeah, I got a good collection back there already. So no need for any more for me. But let me see. Steven says, have you ever used the Tesla supercharger for the Mach-E? If so, how was your experience? I haven't. So, you need an adapter, and we don't have one. So whenever Ford opened up, they offered everyone that has an electric Ford, they were going to send a free adapter. I think I was just busy the first day, and I underestimated the amount of demand they were going to have for that. So I placed an order for our free one on the second day, the day after they announced it. And because of that one day, I don't know how many zillions of orders they got for those things, but I am still waiting for ours. Apparently, from what I read, it is a Tesla issue because Tesla supplies those adapters and Ford's not getting them, at the rate that they expected to. So every month has been bumped back. I think the original estimate was that I was going to be getting it in September. Obviously, that came and went, and then we just kept bumping October, November, December. I think I just checked a few days ago, and it's still saying it's going to be arriving in December, but there's no shipment, there's no tracking. So I don't know if I'm ever going to get it. So haven't tried yet. And it's great to have the supercharger network. I think the supercharger network will be great in a pinch for some people. I think it'll be great for also the casual buyers and the people that aren't planners, that are just kind of looking to fly by the seat of their pants and just want to plug in easily and reliably at every corner. I think that's what the supercharger network kind of gets us closer to, for sure. But personally, I mean, especially since I don't have an adapter, it's not even an option right now. I very rarely do road trips, but I'm such a planner anyway with road tripping, that for me, I have no issues planning out stops on regular CCS chargers, not having to deal with that. I don't have the Tesla app on my phone. I have to download that, make an account, and all that kind of stuff. I'm not an Elon fan either, so the idea of giving him even a cent for supercharging is something I'm not excited about either. So, and they keep expanding the CCS chargers so much anyway that I don't see a need for them personally myself. And so I'm going to, if we do a road trip in the future, I'm just going to, stick to what I know, use PlugShare to research charge stops for CCS chargers, and and not have to worry about encountering Cybertruck drivers. That's also another perk of avoiding superchargers, is avoiding Cybertruck buyers. So that's I think I'm going to be avoiding superchargers myself. But I'm going to have the adapter in case I'm in a pinch and I got my back up against the wall. But I'm not planning on using them myself. Let me see. Brian, thank you so much for the super chat. He says, good evening, Matt and chat. And thanks so much, Brian, for stopping by and for the super chat. Jordan, thank you for a super chat as well. He says, if the new Nissan Kicks would have been introduced as 10 grand, pioneering for ICE as the Tesla 3 for EVs. I'm sure. Yeah, I think, it would have been, obviously if they were 10 grand, they would have been sold out. And but I think they're actually, from what I've heard from Nissan, Kick sales are actually doing very well as is. But a 10 grand car right now would be crazy. And absolutely, I think it would be a game changer for any brand. But I mean, I don't think anyone can afford to do that, because there's no way to build a car that passes safety standards even if you stripped out most of the stuff that buyers expect, just the federally mandated stuff, you need to have a screen inside so you can have a backup camera since that's federally mandated. There's no way to get to a 10 grand car, I don't think. Yeah, unless you have heavy government incentives, like, we're seeing people, this dealer in Colorado giving away these Fiat 500Es for zero down, $0 a month. You just pay like your $1,200 in taxes up front or whatever, and that's it. And that's because of the state incentives are so heavy in Colorado. So like that is kind of close to a free car. I mean, yes, you got to pay the taxes up front. You also have to pass a credit check, and you have to pay to insure it. So it's not free all the way, but it's about as close to free as you're ever going to get for a car. And so I guess it's possible with incentives, but I mean, I guess I shouldn't be surprised if there are incentives for gas vehicles here in the next administration. But, I think unless you incentivize it, there's no way for a car company to organically get to a 10 grand car. But that would be certainly, very pioneering, and would be, it's just, I don't think there's any way. Even the Chinese, like cheap, EVs and stuff, even those I don't think are even close to being that cheap. So that would be, I think it's a bridge too far potentially. And let me see. Thank you again, Jordan, for the super chat. Let me see. Power Toy says he doesn't believe EVs are the future. I feel hybrid or hydrogen is the way to go. Yeah, I still struggle to understand the hype behind hydrogen. I mean, it's just we're so far away from that being an economical power source. Obviously, it's the most plentiful, element on on the planet here, but it's just getting it to a point where you can use it is the problem. That's expensive. That's actually a pretty dirty process in most cases these days. Still, it's improving, but it's not there. I think hydrogen could be the solution if we have a few gigantic technological breakthroughs in the next few decades. But it's going to be a long time, before it gets to that point, I think personally. So I mean, I think hybrid, makes sense to ride the waves of this next administration. But I think that most engineers and most car companies still feel like EVs will be the eventual future, at least for the next couple of decades. And it's just a matter of it getting, to a point where, again, you get the cost parity down with gas and all those other things. I think it will happen. But yeah, I know everyone's got a different opinion about it these days. Dozier says 2 months ownership of my LE Prius, no regrets, not overly complicated or a new technology, 55 mpg average. Think it will be a long-term keeper. That's awesome. Glad you're enjoying it. I love the Prius. They're fantastic, especially LE, such a good, base vehicle there. And a lot of car for, just over 30 grand. So I'm glad you're enjoying it. That's awesome. Grant says, not a political statement, defund Skynet. Yeah, there's I'll just leave that there. I could go into a whole tangent, but I won't. But Chad says, what do you think of reimagining the Eagle brand? Lifted off-roadish wagons, soft off-roaders, etc. That'd be really cool. I think that, or even like the AMC stuff, with their the AMC Eagle, I think, I know that eventually they turned into the Eagle brand themselves, but I think they were very much a revolutionary brand and, visionaries with that kind of stuff. Kind of invented the Subaru Outback before Subaru did. And it'd be fun to see anything like that come back. I'd honestly, I'm kind of surprised like even Jeep hasn't done like a lifted kind of wagon of sorts, to compete against Subaru more directly. Considering Jeep has the off-road cred, like why are they not doing wilderness stuff like Subaru is? In actual wagon forms and smaller little things instead of, going for these more trucky kind of things all the time. I don't know. Harsha said, my Tesla recently got a new software update. Now I can click a button and the car can drive itself from park. Nice. I'm curious, do they just make you do like a disclaimer of like, I accept full responsibility for my car running into stuff autonomously? I'd be curious. I'm assuming that's just what it is you just like wave away any rights, in order to enable that stuff. But yeah, I think that's still the missing piece is, who's going to pay when this stuff, crashes into things. I'm sure car companies will try and put it on the owners, but I'm not sure owners are going to accept responsibility for fully autonomous driving in the future. We'll see how that plays out. I think that's going to be the biggest, beyond the technical hurdles. I think that's the biggest thing to crack still. And let me see. Our Anthony says car prices will go up as many parts are made in China and Canada and Mexico. It would take years to build the needed infrastructure. Yep, absolutely. That's what I'm expecting as well. I mean, again, no one has a crystal ball. We will see how much of this stuff is bluffing and how much of it is actually planning to be, real things. But yeah, if there's tariffs on stuff made in Canada and Mexico, absolutely. It's going to get real expensive, and not just cars, everything. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm not gonna I'm just taking it day by day, seeing what things are going to be real and which things are just going to be a tweet. But let me see. Cars says the nuclear power for AI sounds like it's pretty wasteful to me. Yeah, I kind of agree. There's a few AI things that I appreciate, but not very much. I think a lot of it's, I don't know. We'll see how it develops. It's still in its infancy, but I agree with you, Cars. Zachary says, I know the focus is about the car, and I'm not sure they would let you, but I think a vlog about the behind the scenes of a launch event would be fun to watch. I know. I've been wanting to do that for a long time. I'm trying to think. I mean, there's nothing there's nothing stopping me from vlogging that other stuff. It's, and like, going, especially if I'm on the drive program. I mean, a lot of the times too, on some of these drive programs, especially recently, where they've started bringing in like TikTokers and like random like beauty influencers and other people that don't even like, I mean, I think on the Mustang, I didn't go on the Mustang launch, but I heard that there were some people on the Mustang launch that didn't even know what the Mustang was. I think there's a few people that actually didn't even have a driver's license that showed up. Just like, again, it is what it is. But so some of those people, I think that's part of why they do some of these things, is to like have a lifestyle kind of experience thing for these lifestyle vloggers to be like, hey, look, I got to do this cool thing. And that's, kind of part of the appeal. And for those people, all of us, we come for the cars and we're doing car reviews and that's it. And these other things are just like nice little side things. But for a lot of them, it's like, trying to craft a desirable experience to get these, lifestyle vloggers, to their events. But yeah, I would love to do that. The thing that's always held me back on doing a vlog, a behind the scenes vlog of a car launch event, is mostly just the social awkwardness of it. Part of the joy of going to these events is getting to, swap notes and compare stories and all that with other YouTubers and just kind of talking off the record, about a lot of stuff. And, if there was a camera around, it wouldn't be the same, and it's, I know I've been trying to like find a way to, kind of do an accurate vlog and capture the experience of the behind the scenes stuff accurately in a way that doesn't, like ruin the experience for others there, because the other thing too is, I'm very thankful that I'm very good friends with a lot of these, really cool car YouTubers. And, I never want to kind of monetize the friendship component there. I never want to be the ones like, oh, look who I'm hanging out with. Like, I'm so cool or anything. I know the vlog is more about like just the behind the scenes of that, but just whenever we're off camera, we just kind of can let our guards down and just be ourselves. And, we don't have to be on and kind of be, in our persona for the camera there or whatever. So I feel like, it's tough. I still want to do it. I think especially it'd be a really cool member exclusive video to do, because then there's a smaller audience and, it could be something that maybe I could kind of pull back the curtain a little bit more and not have to worry about mass appeal of something like that. Yeah, I'm still trying to come up with a way to do it that's natural and organic and not weird and socially awkward. But yeah, I agree. I'd love to do that someday, Zachary. And if I can find a good way to do that, even if I like just leave out the other YouTubers and just, if there is like a cool activity I'm doing and I can kind of exclude the people and just be like, hey, I'm in this cool house, or I'm just doing this cool thing, maybe I could do something like that. It wouldn't be a long video because it would just be like, again, I'm in this cool house. Here's a few minute clip. Maybe I do that again as a member exclusive thing, quick little rough, dirty vlog. And that's it. I also have always wanted to properly show off the behind the highlight reel kind of thing as well, though, of, everyone sees I'm in this glamorous place. I'm telling these cool stories of all these cool things I get to do or whatever. But like, no one sees me waking up at 4 a.m. exhausted, dragging my suitcase to the airport at 5 in the morning and, getting on planes, having flights get delayed, having annoying people on planes next to me, having, all the other crap that goes into, doing these things for the like awesome 30-minute video you see, the 3 days of other crap behind the scenes that happens. I think that would be kind of fun to just show the reality of that for people who do think it's this, glamorous life. And I mean, I will be the first to admit I'm very fortunate, very lucky. It is very glamorous in a lot of ways, but that's one thing I often talk about with all my other YouTube buddies is like, it's less glamorous than it looks on the surface, whenever just people are just so burned out with the flights. The one thing I've been hearing from a lot of my buddies is just like, once the auto shows died and every car company had to fly us to a separate place to go on another launch for just the first look, just like here's the vehicle, and then we got to do another whole separate trip a few months later to drive the thing. It's double the travel. You used to just be like, we all did everything at the auto shows and then we all just drove and that was it. And now it's like, now you have to do double the flights and double the trips, and it's something that is unfortunate, but it's really seems like auto shows are not going to come back. They will continue, but they're not going to get to, I think, the point where car companies are going to give up that, because I think COVID gave them a taste of like, oh wait, we can have all these people all to ourselves, have the embargo day all to ourselves. We don't have to compete for coverage. We don't have to compete to get people in our booth and film our cars. We can just have everything to ourselves. And once they tasted that, they didn't want to give it up. And I mean, I don't blame them, from a marketing standpoint. It makes sense to not have to compete with 5 other brands on a, single auto show day. But, it's just unfortunate that, we're at the end of that, we're the receiving end of that. I mean, they were also paying a crap load of extra money, but they're saving a bunch of money, believe it or not, because, flying a bunch of journalists and putting them up in hotels and feeding them is far less expensive than those gigantic auto show displays. I mean, some of those were like multi-million-dollar displays for these giant, 4-story walls and huge screens and all these elaborate stages and gimmicks and stuff. I mean, that is expensive stuff. And then taking it up and then tearing it down a week later, it's actually cheaper, they've told us, to just fly everyone and do one of these events instead. So I don't think that's going to change, but man, yeah, that's the kind of stuff that's definitely made it more of a drag in the past few years. But again, still very fun, and I will not complain. But let me see. Neba Back says, hey, Matt, what cars do you own? Right now, just the 2022 Ford Mustang Mach-E Premium is the only car that we own. I sold the Bullet earlier this year that I had, and I'll actually be doing an update on the Mach-E that'll be going live tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. It's at over 2 years of ownership now and 15,000 miles. And I don't know if I talked about it yet, but there is one thing. I'll save it for the video tomorrow. One big disappointment I just had with the vehicle, and so you'll see that. It's not the actual vehicle itself, but one annoying thing that I had to deal with here. So I'm going to be talking about that in the video, and you guys will see that tomorrow. So, but right now, just a 1-car household, and then having the press cars all the time to drive. So that's always what I'm driving. And Daryl says he heard the rumor from Horsepower Obsessed channel. Interesting. Yeah, as far as the C8 Corvette getting a manual, I don't think there's any chance. I'm not sure where they heard that, but I would not put any weight into that. Power Toy says AI will be the death of us. We love to play God. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how AI plays out, but I'm not optimistic either. Cam Jam says, today I picked what car I would ride in because I was gifted an extreme experience. The options were a 488 GTB, Huracan, or GT3. Went with the Huracan because it sounds awesome, but is also quick. That sounded like an ad. No, that's awesome. I see those ads all the time, and I did a similar type of thing. One year at SEMA, there was a thing in Vegas that was like you pick whatever car you want. I actually did the Huracan as well, and it's such a quick little lap around a track. And admittedly, the the instructors are very nervous because they don't know who's in the car with them, and there's instructors that get injured and die just about every year because of idiots that think they can drive better than they can. And so it was my drive. It was like 3 laps in a Huracan or whatever. It was not very fun because they're like telling me to brake super early, super conservatively. Obviously they didn't, even though I told them like I've done driving schools, like, I could be, BSing them. So they didn't need to believe me, and they didn't believe me because again, they kept me on a very short leash. But I hope you had a good experience. I hope it was actually fun. So I'm glad you got to try that out though. And sorry, I missed a couple of super chats here. So Jordan, thank you for a super chat. He says, did you decide on your cheap EV for airport travels? Oh, it's been a time suck for me this week. I've been going back and forth with multiple dealers, trying to work out a deal. Um, I don't know how many other people care about this this tangent, so I won't go into this super long. But no, as of right now, I decided to hold off. I think if the tax credit goes away, on January 20th, at least I still have the first few weeks of January to hopefully, I'm gonna wait and see what manufacturers do as far as deals. I have a hunch that, if I think no one knows what to believe from Trump and what not to believe. But if car companies are actually concerned that credit's going away, I think we could see kind of a fire sale in the first 3 weeks of January and have all these deals literally ending like January 19th for all these EVs, and like clear them out if these EV incentives are going away, because they know it's going to be so hard, especially for stuff like Fiat 500e and Equinox EV and some of these more affordable ones that are really trying to get to that low price point, that are, really more price sensitive buyers that are going for those types of things. Those are the ones that I think are, going to be more nervous. Hyundai as well. They're really incentivizing, Ioniq 5s and Ioniq 6s still. And those are also, ones I'm kind of keeping an eye on. So yeah, the top ones for me, I'm keeping an eye on are Fiat 500e, Ioniq 5, Ioniq 6. I'm open to others depending on, again, what the deals are that are out there. But those are the top runners right now for me, just again, to literally drive to the airport and back. And the reason why I haven't pulled the trigger on it yet is because for me, it has to be cheaper, all in, including insurance, than me taking a couple of Uber rides a month. Or at least it should be, not a huge price premium to do that. Right now it's close, but I'm still paying a decent premium for the car, including insurance, just because insurance is so expensive for EVs still, even cheap ones. And so that's kind of the biggest problem. It's tempting though, because like these lease deals, like I can't imagine a world where I will ever have an opportunity to get a car this cheap for a lease ever again. It's stupid cheap. It's not free like Colorado, but it's about as close as you can get to that in PA. So it's close. But I told the dealer that I'm going to just wait and see what January brings. If, Fiat gets really desperate, if Hyundai gets really desperate and wants to really clear out some of these things, there's a chance I'll be picking up probably one of those 3. If it's, again, dirt cheap. But I do have a lot of press cars I usually can take to the airport sometimes as well. And I can, take a ride, with Beth and, have her drive me to the airport sometimes too. So it's tough. I'm really torn, but as of right now, I've decided to hold off. And I think that's probably the more economical choice, is to just hold off here and see, what happens next month. And if I miss out, then I miss out. Again, I have awesome cars I get to drive for free all the time. But it'd be nice to have a little backup car and guaranteed transportation for dirt cheap for the next 4 years, with all the other wild cards of the next, 4 years too. It'd be nice to, lock something in. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, thanks for the super chat, Jordan. And thank you also for another super chat. He says, home indoor exercise machines, bikes to charge EVs, less stress on the grid, bonus health, home health without gym phobia. Chad and Jordan. That's a fun idea. I don't Yeah, honestly, it's not a bad idea. I don't know how much electricity that actually generates on a bike, um, or any kind of other like elliptical or anything like that. If there is actually like something to do there, to generate that, that could be fun, but I'm almost certain it's not enough. Um, I'm sure someone would have tried by now if it was actually viable, but maybe not. That'd be a fun thing to look into. Very cool idea. You guys always have such great ideas. Thank you again for the super chat. And let me see. Um, Harsha says, how come Tesla doesn't have a complete lineup? Every other manufacturer has a lot of vehicles in their lineup, but Tesla only has 5 vehicles. Um, I don't know. I think, Tesla really, especially now with Cybertruck, has all the main ones covered. I think, efficiency is really something that's, Elon and Tesla have done very well. And I think that also applies to the styling of their cars, the fact that, they don't chase the trends of refreshing every few years. And the fact that, they don't try and fill every niche. They, cover the main ones. We got a small sedan, big sedan, small SUV, big SUV, and a truck. That's really the meat and potatoes of most brands lineups anyway. So, I mean, I'd say they're pretty well covered. Um, so I think they kind of, have all their bases covered as much as they need to, honestly. PM says Cybertrucks charge faster with an adapter on 800-volt CCS. Really? I didn't hear that. That's funny. Okay, well, I guess I can avoid Cybertrucks then if they're all going to be hanging out at CCS chargers as well. Well, it was a nice idea, I guess, while it lasted. Danny says, hey, Matt, I got a new computer for Christmas, and I love it. Also, my interesting spots of the week were a 2nd-gen Honda Insight and a 10th-gen Accord Hybrid. Nice. And congrats on the new computer for Christmas. Hope you had a good Christmas, Danny. Thanks for stopping by. And hopefully the holiday magic brings some a gifted membership here to you at some point in the future in 2025 here. And Daryl says, what do you think about the Honda and Nissan merger? I mean, if that actually does happen, there's still a lot of hoops to jump through. I know, again, probably the way other YouTube videos probably made it seem like it's a done deal. It is by no means a done deal. If it does in fact happen, I still don't know what Honda gets out of it really. I mean, there's maybe a couple cars they could potentially get out of it if Honda wants to go into those segments they don't already have covered. But I think it really does sound like Foxconn's trying to do an aggressive takeover and Honda's, kind of being their savior there so that Nissan doesn't have to, get taken over by, Foxconn. But I really don't know why Honda's doing it, to be honest. I'm guessing there's more behind the scenes than we don't know. But from the outside here, it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to me personally. And Luke says, I always see the Nissan Leaf deal in Colorado for $20 a month. Yeah, man, Colorado gets such good deals thanks to their incentives there. It's I'm very jealous because absolutely I would have gone for one of those 500Es immediately the day that deal was announced if that was available here in PA. And that's kind of what I'm hoping if Fiat, clearly sees the massive popularity of that deal in Colorado. I think they said they've already sold like 60 of them and they have a long wait list and they're like the dealers trying to dealer trade them from other states that don't want them and trying to get as many as they can to Colorado here. But, surely, I mean, they literally stopped production at that factory because no one's getting 500Es anymore. And if they see like, hey, look, like, let's, jump on this while we can. And they see not only Colorado having that, but seeing that, hey, maybe if we do like lease these things stupid cheap, we can clear these out. I'm hoping that Fiat kind of does their own, I'm not expecting a, $0 lease from Fiat, but I'd like to see them like last generation, they did a $99 lease and a $99 lease would probably get me into one of those, especially considering inflation between last time in like 2015 or whatever to now. Obviously $99 is not what $99 was back then. So that is even a better deal and it's a better car than the old one too. So if they do something like that, I'm probably gonna, go for it. Even if I drive it once every 6 months, it's still just the idea to have a nice backup car for, $100 a month. it's like, why not? So that's what I'm hoping for here in January, from them or another brand. We'll see. And Harsha says Tesla's giving free lifetime supercharging for the Model S. I am guessing the Model S sales are extremely low and they're getting desperate for sales to improve. Yeah, that's probably what they're doing. And that did work for them, in the early years. Model S's originally came with free supercharging. And then they discontinued that once they kind of got some momentum going there. But yeah, I mean, I Model S is so old at this point that I really struggle to see the appeal of getting one new. You might as well just get a used one. Like, there's so many of them out there at this point, and they're all basically the same. So why go for a new one? So yeah, that's the strategy. Working against them, but you can only milk that for so long before you got to do something new. And so I don't know when they're going to do a new Model S, but it doesn't sound like it's on their radar. And the way Tesla moves, it's going to take forever to get it out. So I think, yeah, Model S is just going to go by the wayside here, most likely. Unless they maybe have a Highland kind of refresh, something actually substantial. But I don't know. We'll see. And let me see. Zach's asking, any info on Wagoneer S? So I mean, I'm guessing you mean as far as like release date and timing and all that. Because I already did like my full walk around video and have all the info on the Wagoneer S and that I did back in, I think it was April or May at this point. But as far as updates on Wagoneer S, I can say I know when I'm driving it. I am going to be going on the drive for Wagoneer S. I can't say when it is or how soon it is. But yeah, I'm going to be reviewing Wagoneer S here in 2025 is all I will say for now. But yeah, so stay tuned for that. And I'm excited to try that out. Again, a vehicle that they're going up against, a brick wall for demand. So I mean, we will see how it plays out, but I hope it does well for them. But it sounds like it's gonna be an impressive vehicle nonetheless, even if no one wants it. And let me see here. I don't know what SVT is referring to as far as BYD there, but Danny says, hey, Matt, what are your thoughts on a 1985 Toyota Camry turbo diesel? Never knew Toyota made a diesel that came here in the U.S. I didn't know about that either. Always learning something new from you, Danny. So I got to compile a list of all these vehicles I got to look into some point, but that's awesome. And Jordan, thank you for another super chat. He says, PSA Tesla shop on Olive Road in Pensacola, Florida. I'm not sure what you mean there, unless that's to someone else. Yeah, I'm sorry, I might be missing the reference there. But let me see. Where were we here? Flo says, should I swap my Mustang GT 2020 for a 2015 Grand Cherokee SRT? Still have to test drive the SRT. I mean, it just completely comes down to what you prefer and what you like. I mean, I personally like the Mustang better, but if you need the extra space of the Grand Cherokee or some of the other things that it provides that the Mustang cannot, then sure. But it's not going to handle as good as the Mustang, and yeah. So I like the Grand Cherokee SRTs. I reviewed them back in the day. They're fun for sure. And it's fun in that form factor, but it's a Grand Cherokee, so it's not going to be as dynamic as the Mustang. And For Enthusiast says, totally against autonomous driving. Any car enthusiast should be if they love to drive as I do. Yeah, I can understand that viewpoint. I think for me, I think would improve the driving experience for those who do want to drive, though. If you had autonomous vehicles, I mean, even just like yesterday, we were trying to do rolling shots here, which is, those shots we get in their vehicles as they drive down the road and you see in their reviews, trying to do rolling shots. And there was someone like going so slow and driving so badly. And so as we were passing them, Beth looked over and she's like, yep, they're staring down into their phone texting. And that's why they're driving poorly. And if those types of people, I'd feel so much safer. And I think traffic would flow so much better if those people were just in an autonomous pod, sitting in the right-hand lane, doing the speed limit while they just stare into their phones for the rest of their lives. That's what they want to do. I would rather have those people in autonomous cars. If they can't be bothered to pay attention to driving, it'll make it safer. And it also clear out the stupid left lane. All these idiots that love to sit in the left lane for no reason. I was behind people like that yesterday too. I don't know why people feel entitled to use the left lane for whatever they feel like using it for. Drives me crazy. So if we get the left lane cleared out because of all these idiots and we have them all sit in the right lane in autonomous pods, I am all for that. To me, that is fantastic. Sounds good. It'll be safer than the distracted idiots. It'll be, more orderly than the way they drive currently. And it'll be, to me, it's a massive improvement. I understand, if there's this concern that if you make autonomous cars too appealing, then you will kind of hurt the interest in the act of driving, and therefore, people will, they'll be less enthusiast possibly. But I think that there's a clear distinction. If you love driving or even like driving, you're never going to go for an autonomous vehicle. And if you're someone who's never cared about driving, you've always been, just disinterested in the task in general, I don't think there's any hope that any of those people will ever become enthusiasts or support the hobby in any way, in the future. Write them off and let them go to their pod and be done with it. I think that's, to me, I think it would actually make the enthusiast world much, much better. I mean, you could say potentially it'll hurt insurance rates because we're the wild cards out there in driven cars at that point, and maybe it would get insurance taxed out of existence, for driving. There's that concern as well, so I can understand that too. But assuming insurance, doesn't screw all of us in an autonomous world, I think it'll be great for enthusiasts. And let me see. Kevin says, any thoughts on what the lease on a 500e Giorgio Armani edition might go for? From what I saw, the only lease deals Fiat's interested in doing, at least from a national standpoint, is on the red ones, the base ones. Even though like the music and beauty and LA ones, there's like no deals on those ones at all. The Armani one, I don't think they're even building them yet. I think they announced the Armani one, but currently production is completely stopped in Italy because they have too many of the other ones already. So I don't think there's actually a single Armani edition built yet. So yeah, you're gonna have to wait till production starts back up, assuming that even happens at some point here. So yeah, probably not gonna at least deal on that one, unfortunately. Maybe if you're in Italy or something. But Jam says, speaking of Glamorous, when I was flying to North Dakota, I listened to Glamorous by Fergie on Spotify. She was talking about her private jet and champagne while I was sipping apple juice in my economy seat. Nice. Yeah, we can all pretend to be glamorous in our own minds. And let me see here. So Joe says, happy holidays, bro. Happy early new year. Appreciate that, Joe. Happy new year to you as well. And Daryl says you can buy a Tesla for cheap from Hertz. Yeah, super cheap. And I was even looking, Hertz is selling off, at least around here, a bunch of their Bolts as well. And the new Bolt is a great little car. There are some Bolts with I think 30,000 miles, and they're like 13 grand. It's like, man, the deals out there for EVs, so good right now. It's nuts. And especially, I don't know how much of this stuff is set in stone, but I heard that China's starting to do more preparing retaliatory tariffs on a lot of the battery minerals. And if we do go into some full-blown trade war with China, then I could see us again going into a supply crunch for a variety of stuff, but especially for EV components, really strangling EV production. I'm not going to say this with any confidence, but I'd say there's a possibility that all these EVs that are out there that are used vehicles could skyrocket, relatively speaking, in value, at least greatly go up if the supply of new stuff coming in essentially goes to almost zero. And it's a limited quantity of vehicles, then I think you could see a lot of that stuff actually get more desirable, because there is still EV adoption growth. Despite what you might see online, it is still growing. And if those new shoppers are looking for cars and all that's left is used market stuff, but they do want to make that leap, that could drive up demand and prices for those used EVs. And I think that, some of these just, again, dirt cheap EVs. I mean, the idea you can get a 2021 model year vehicle with 30,000 miles on it for $13,000. I don't think you can even get a Corolla that cheap with the similar miles and all that kind of stuff. I mean, even a Nissan Versa probably is more expensive. I mean, it's like insane for a vehicle with 200 horsepower, a bunch of other nice stuff on them, that's nicer than the Nissan Versa and others like that. It's just crazy. Yeah, some of the deals out there right now, if you're not opposed to the EVs. And Veslin, thank you so much for a super chat. He says, "Did we discuss the new Prelude? Seems cool, but maybe with weak power or weak drivetrain. Japan videos looks and sounds like Civic hybrid drivetrain with fake gears." Yeah, that seems to be the consensus I got as well. Again, it's a two-door car. I'm excited for it because it's a two-door car. That takes bravery, and is probably going to be a losing value proposition for Honda, to put out there. So I respect them for doing something enthusiast related that they don't have to do, and they're doing it anyway. So I can, respect that. Excuse me, but I'm hoping that it's better than it seems like it is so far. And I think, again, the thing to keep in mind, like I said, my weekly update a couple weeks ago was, even if the current first Prelude is a disappointment to some enthusiasts, Honda never debuts their full-blown performance versions, on launch. We don't get Civic Type R the same day Civic sedan and hatchback launch. It doesn't work that way. So we have Prelude, and we know that's coming to the US, and it's a cool two-door that has a lot of same bones as Civic. That tells me there's a potential not only just for Type R, which I think is actually a very strong possibility, but even for an SI Prelude. Say, okay, we have regular Prelude, which is a hybrid thing, but we have people who want a manual, people who don't care about having, the fastest thing in a straight line. Let's throw the manual in there. Let's do all that. I think it'd be very easy for them to do, again, considering the swappability most likely. But again, Type R, the awesome 300 horsepower Prelude is probably coming at some point. It's, again, just seems like it's too easy to not do. And especially considering now, Honda does have the flexibility that, they gave us the Integra Type S. They didn't have to do that. They could have kept the Type R stuff for the Civic as this hollowed, respected thing that they could never touch in other brands, but they're spreading that out to others. So I think that there is a good chance we get Prelude Type R. So keep that in mind. If Prelude launches next year and everyone says, "Oh, this is lame," and don't be shocked if sometime in 2026, 2027 we get Prelude Type R and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, it's the greatest thing ever," and it's like, I called it the end of 2024. But I think I think it will eventually be cool, even if the first iteration isn't as cool as we all want. And thank you again for the super chat, Veslin. Jordan, thank you for another super chat as well. He says, "Ford Lithium waiting on Charger EV acceptance." No, I think Jim Farley's just not interested. And he even, again, who knows what to expect from that guy, because he's all over the place too with his weird quotes. But, he said, "We'll never do an electric Mustang," as of a few months ago. Again, I guess ignoring the whole marketing pitch for Mach-E being a Mustang. But, it sounds like, Ford is not interested in doing a two-door thing. I mean, I could have argued that if Charger EV became a wild success, then maybe Ford would have been a little jealous and maybe tried something. But doesn't sound like that's going to happen anytime this decade. Again, we will see what happens. Maybe I hope our fans will suddenly become more open-minded, but I wouldn't hold your breath for that one. So I think that Ford is happily sitting back with their popcorn, watching all the hate on Charger EV and being like, "Yep, we played this one correctly." And while they cook up another, 12 MPG Shelby GT 500 or something that will be exactly what everyone's going to be wanting here for the last half of the 2020s. So yeah, I don't think Ford Lithium has any future, unfortunately, at least not this decade. And Jordan, thank you so much for giving a membership as well. I really appreciate that. Happy to see Michael was able to get a membership there. Let me see here. Other questions. Where were we? Cam Jump says, "I haven't done the experience yet. I'm just doing a ride along, so hopefully they aren't as conservative while driving." Oh, nice. That's awesome. So yeah, that's the way to do it. I didn't know they did ride alongs. I thought it was always just like you driving for extreme experience. But yeah, then you're going to have a fun time, because yeah, if you have an instructor driving and they can just go ham, it's really impressive. I mean, even a lot of these drives that I go on that have track time, it's always so fun to go for a hot lap with the pro driver there, because one, it's a humbling experience because you've just been out on track all day and you're like, oh, I can drive this thing pretty good. And then you're like, huh, yeah, you're not driving it very well because they're doing way faster than you are oftentimes. So there's that. That's fun. But yeah, it's just like seeing what a car can truly do and seeing what not just that car can do, but just what a car can do in skilled hands. If that's something you haven't experienced before or haven't experienced on that level with a Huracan, I mean, it's going to be a mind-blowing, very, very fun experience. Hopefully, as long as you have a very good instructor. I'm not sure what the caliber of hiring is, their extreme experience, but hopefully, they're top-notch drivers that are going to be really good and give you a fun ride. So that's awesome. Hope you enjoy it. That's really, really cool. Power Toys is asking if I'm excited for the new Pittsburgh airport. Looks like it'll be nice. We are really growing. Traffic shows it. Yeah, it does seem like Pittsburgh is growing, and I'm very happy for the new airport because, the security lines have gotten kind of long, and it sounds like it's going to be, this massive wide open expanse of a zillion, TSA checkpoints. And so I'm excited for that. Yeah, I think it's in October for the new airport here. It'll be very nice. I've heard there could be a potential parking issue with the garage possibly not being big enough. We will see what happens with this new garage they're making for it. But yeah, I'm excited for the airport. It's gonna be so nice to have a new airport there. And Harsha says, how is Nissan's bankruptcy situation now different to the situation in the 90s? Nissan has been on the verge multiple times. I'd say now there is more competition than ever. There's a lot in the 90s as well, but again, the Chinese stuff is really just making it tough on everyone, not only just for the invasion of Chinese EVs potentially, but also just like in the Chinese market. I think this is also something I haven't talked about yet, but I think there's a very good chance that Buick goes away, possibly even next year. The reason why I say this is because, the historical justification for Buick for the past like decade or more was that Buick was very popular in China. And because of the popularity in China, it didn't make sense to completely kill them off in the States. Like it was like the Chinese Buick subsidized the stuff here in the States for a long time. But sales of any non-Chinese brand in China are really plummeting fast, partially because of, again, just the value of these, Chinese vehicles. But also just seems like there's growing sentiment of, the car market getting stronger and stronger for those domestic brands in China. And so everyone, I mean, this is part of why all these companies have these financial issues. Ford sales are way down and Lincoln as well. I think Lincoln has enough staying power that they'll be safe here in the States. I mean, maybe there's no guarantees, but, I think Buick especially, though, they're in a vulnerable spot because if they don't sell a bunch of Buicks in China and they don't sell a bunch here either, I think that could be one we may see go away. I don't know. Especially with GMC being a little more premium these days. Yes, obviously they're more rugged and Buick is more classy, but I think with everyone, again, the trend being rugged stuff anyway, I could see easily GM kind of happily occupying the spot, and taking over for Buick since they often share many of the same vehicles anyway. But as far as, Nissan is also struggling, they sold a bunch of Nissans in China as well, and they're selling less of those too. So, I think that's, just getting kind of hit on both sides is going to be kind of what makes it more of a dire situation for Nissan. And I mean, obviously they would not be merging with Honda. I mean, they were, all these companies were rivals. They, you would have told them even 10 years ago, you guys were going to merge. I mean, they would have never believed it, I don't think. So, it truly shows just how bad things have gotten for these brands that they are doing these partnerships. And it's getting tough out there. So I think it is certainly worse. Otherwise, it would, if it was just like the 90s, I don't think they would have ever entertained, this merger idea. And Pistol Pete says, cheers to a happy and healthy 2025. Likewise, I hope you have a great one as well, Pete. And Raphael says, I like the idea of the merger. Even with the mismanagement, I like to see Nissan continue on. Me too. I mean, I think most of us probably loved the GTR. A lot of us really like the Zs. There's I think Nissan, especially the sad thing for me if Nissan does go away or turn into Foxconn's new car brand or whatever. I mean, it just would be sad because, and I'm not just like saying this, like Nissan is really, I think, on a good trajectory now. Now that I've seen how good Kicks is, and the fact that Kicks is supposedly selling very well, at least according to Nissan. I was talking to them on the Armada and Murano drive, and I'm like, how's Nissan Kicks doing for you guys? Because I think it's a really good vehicle. It sounds like it would be a really good seller. And they're like, yeah, early preliminary reports are that it is actually very, very good selling, and it's doing very well. So I'm like, okay, it's I hate to see companies, work so hard and actually do really good stuff and then have it screw them, and end up just like it not being enough or being too little too late. But I think hopefully, Kicks will really help and really be a strong, boost for them here immediately. I think Armada is positioned to also do very well. Again, coming in at a more affordable price point than the competition, being just as good in many ways. And I just hope that these new products, even Murano is a nice improvement in my opinion. So I'm really hoping that some of these things do save Nissan, because I think they are really giving 110% these days. Honestly, like these new Nissan products almost remind me of Hyundai and Kia with the way they are really kind of going over the top and really pushing hard and really trying to make it the best product possible, even just with choices. I mean, like not only just like the Kicks having like padding everywhere. There's more padding in a Nissan Kicks than there is in a BMW X5. Like I'm not BSing. Like that is legitimate. Like tap around the plastics and the materials in an X5 and then tap around them in a Nissan. The X5 might have more expensive feeling stuff, but it's softer in a Kicks. So I mean, there's those types of things. Armada, for example, like the Klipsch stereo is like standard in I think everything except the base model. Like what car company gives you the top stereo in everything except the base model? Like usually, you gotta go to the top trims or you gotta spend a bunch of money on, an expensive option package or whatever. And Nissan's like, we're giving an epic Klipsch stereo and everything in an Armada aside from the base one. Like those types of choices show me that they are really reaching and they're really trying hard and really trying to drive home that appeal. And so I really hope that it does work out for them, even just selfishly, just so that we can someday get a new GTR and hopefully see the Z continue and get the enthusiast stuff to continue. Because Nissan has been a pillar of the enthusiast community for a long time. I'd love to see Sentra SCR come back. I'm not sure why, some of these other sporty things haven't happened, but I just hope that they can, have some extra strength. And I mean, imagine if, they were able to, I don't know, use the manual from, or even the powertrain from Civic Si and bolt it into a Sentra and have a Sentra SCR just with SI components. That'd be great. There's all kinds of fun possibilities. And so I just hope that, Nissan finds their way, because I never want to see a car company do badly. It'd be really a shame. Anyway, let me see here. So Subsby, thank you so much for a super chat. He says, thoughts on GM entering F1 under the Cadillac brand? We are considering Blackwings will end soon. Should the rumored Zora launch as a Caddy Halo car? That's an interesting idea. As far as, Cadillac, being the arm to use for F1, I think GM really values, Cadillac's position. And, GM is willing to spend a bunch of money on Cadillac. I mean, as far as, approving stuff like Celestiq being hand built in a heritage center in GM there, that takes a lot of confidence. And, Blackwing, keeping that around and, investing all this money into that, it takes a lot of confidence. And I think, from what I've heard with the various, presentations that Cadillac has given us in the past year or so, I even heard this on the Blackwing launch a few months ago. Blackwing brings in like all the exotic car buyers. Like, it taps into a different segment of buyers that Cadillac even wouldn't access usually, and especially that other GM brands wouldn't access. Even like Corvette seems like it's kind of its own thing in a way. There's not a ton of overlap. I think Z06 maybe is starting to overlap and intrigue some of those exotic buyers. But, typically even Corvette was like, oh, it's just a Corvette. The Ferrari and Porsche owners and stuff kind of turn their nose up to that, I think, in many cases. Not all of them, but, some of them. But I think, Blackwing has everyone's respect. And the fact that it's the last one standing, all these people that are pissed off about the M5, that are pissed off about the Mercedes AMG stuff, they're all buying Blackwings now. They're buying because that's what That's what all these other competitors used to be. And Cadillac's the only one doing that anymore. And not only are they just doing it and checking the box, but they're damn good cars. I mean, on track, on the street, they're giving you the manual option that everyone's been complaining about, losing ever since the E60 M5s. I mean, they're doing the right thing. They're doing what those buyers want, and instead of BMW and Mercedes telling those buyers what they should want. I think that's the big difference. So, you know, in that context, with that extra info, I think the F1 brand that makes the most sense is Cadillac, because of those high-end buyers that are maybe in the F1 world, or are buying those cars that are marketed with F1 marketing hype, as far as some of these other things you see from Ferrari and all these other companies. I think that's why they chose Cadillac. And also, I'm not sure about Blackwing ending soon, especially now, again, knowing production is still humming along and seems like we have no EPA here in a couple of weeks. Why get rid of it, especially if sales are strong, which they are. And there's a lot of people dropping big money on them. I mean, even Cadillac told us like a fun story. There's a lot of details that are really cool, and I can't properly recite them, so I won't try and retell the whole story. But there's like people buying like multiple Blackwings, like those types of rich people being like, I'm buying one to collect and have 5 miles on, and then I'm buying one to drive. And like, you're getting those types of people buying Blackwings. So those are the types of people that are in the F1 world, that are into that sport more so, the wealthier kind of people. And so I think that's why it makes sense. As far as Zora launching as a Halo car for Cadillac, I mean, I wouldn't put it out of the realm of possibility of Cadillac getting a variant of that. I think that, because it's going to be called Zora almost certainly, and because that's, supposed to be an homage to, the origins of Corvette, I don't think they're going to deviate from that. And I think that would royally piss off the Corvette fan base, which they don't want to do. So I don't think, they're going to be any changes there, but I think, it wouldn't hurt to have, slap some Cadillac badges on a different version, and kind of try and make it look more like that Cadillac 16 or the Cadillac CL or CN, what is that one crazy concept they had a couple of decades ago now. But yeah, I think you're right though. Now being an F1, a Halo model or a full-blown sports car certainly seems like something we should probably be expecting. But we'll see. I mean, I think they could also get by just fine with Blackwing as an amazing Halo on its own. But yeah, and as far as my thoughts on, GM entering F1 in general, I don't really follow F1 myself, so I don't have any intelligent thoughts on the merits of them entering and all that. But I mean, I know they have some phenomenal engineers and some really, impressive stuff that they've done with the Blackwing. So I have full confidence they'll, probably be very, very competitive, hopefully. And Jordan, thank you so much for a super chat as well. He says, if you think Buick could go away with human consumption of media, is Buick lacking sufficient commercial branding and media push? I mean, I think the marketing budget's just, pretty similar to the other GM brands, at least the smaller GM brands. So I'm not sure, I think for Buick, it's still just kind of a heritage thing. And I know they've changed their image, and they have, conquested some younger buyers. And I think they were making, progress there. But I think that especially, I've been hearing from, I think even maybe Jim Farley or someone else was saying that this next year here coming up is going to be the year of consolidation. And if we are approaching, some type of crunch for these car companies, I think we could see another condensation of GM slightly, kind of like we saw, in the recession, of losing some brands. And I can see the value of every brand, for sure right now. And I mean, like GMC, for example, is growing. Like they're actually saying GMC, I think, is actually the fastest growing brand within GM right now. A lot of new hype for GMC products, people willing to, pay that slight premium for the GMC over the Chevy, and just, luxury stuff in general becoming more desirable. And GMC is kind of viewed as that. I think, at the end of the day, like GM, I think could get by just fine if they really had to on Chevy and Cadillac. I think everything else is kind of, I mean, all of the GMCs are badge engineered Chevys. I mean, you can say the same for Cadillac, but at least, with true luxury brands, especially Cadillac, the Escalade is a money printer. It makes no sense to ever get rid of Cadillac. I don't think it's just for Escalade alone, if nothing else. The other stuff could go away, but Escalade alone it makes, the whole brand worth it. But yeah, I mean, I think, Buick, it's the same. It's all their products are variants of Chevys as well, and Chevys are really nice these days. They're adding a lot of content, and there's, aside from different styling and slight improvements in refinement, which are probably wasted on most average buyers that will never be able to tell a difference unless they do a back-to-back drive in identical conditions, and even then probably wouldn't notice for a lot of people. I just think it's really hard. And same, I mean, GMC has slightly more unique stuff, but again, High Country Chevy is very nice too. Is there a need for GMC trucks? Not really. I think, it's nice to have, but again, if we're in a really do or die situation for GM, I could see, them again, just kind of axing the extra brands there, or at least starting with Buick and going from there. I think Buick's the lowest hanging fruit there. But yeah, I don't think it's a marketing issue. I really think it's just, you can only slice the pie so many ways. And if there's less and less pie to go around, it's going to come at the cost of your other brands. And if you don't want those other brands to hurt as much, then you got to, sacrifice something. And I think that's where Buick lands, potentially, in my opinion. Again, I have heard zero rumors about any fate of Buick. So I could be completely full of crap here, but I haven't checked Chinese sales of Buicks recently. I've just been hearing that all the GM brands are struggling over there, which can't be good news for Buick. So we'll see what happens. But, yeah, thanks for asking, Jordan. I appreciate the super chat once again. Let me see here. Sorry, I'm getting a little behind here on the member questions, so I'll try and get caught up here. Where were we? Chad says Nissan's downfall should be a warning against CVT, Subaru as well. Yeah, I think this CVT thing really was the downfall of Nissan in a lot of ways. It really burned so many people, and that's going to be their real struggles. Even if they have fantastic products, can they recover from that bad image? I think it's going to take a lot of time, and maybe Nissan doesn't have that time, Carr says that would be awesome if you can get a Fiat 500e for around $99 a month. Best I've found so far is an ultra low mileage lease for $169 per month for 42 months. Here's hoping for a fire sale. Yeah. I was actually, so that's the national lease rate, I think right now is the 169. I was able to get a dealer down kind of lower than that, because that 169 doesn't include taxes. And I believe that also gives or requires money down. I got a sign and drive deal, essentially, including taxes, for close to $200 a month. Is kind of where I'm at right now with the negotiations with the dealer. That doesn't include insurance, but that's why, like, $200 a month, I'm like, it's still really cheap, especially these days. I mean, like, I even talked to my brother-in-law that sells Toyotas, and he's like, dude, I couldn't even lease you a Corolla for less than $300 a month with the sign and drive, including taxes. Like, it's just an untouchable deal. So it's not a reflection. Like, I keep telling the salesman, like, it's not you, man. It's just the fact that, like, you're not competing with other cars salesmen. You're competing with, like, me riding to the airport once or twice with Uber, like, which I'm sure Uber will get more expensive in the next few years for sure as well, which is also factored into my weighing here of the options. But yeah, it's very tempting. We'll see what happens. If I can just get it a little lower, I probably will bite. We'll see. Luke, thank you for the super chat. He says, sorry for the late check-in. I had a reunion with people from first grade I haven't seen since 2002. None of them like cars, sadly. I mean, I guess that's not too surprising, but that's super cool. You're able to do a little reunion there. Hopefully that was fun. I know sometimes those kinds of things can be interesting. So hopefully it was a good time there. But man, talk about a blast from the past. I'm sure a lot has changed for all those people in the past 22 years. That's nuts. I haven't gone to any reunions or anything like that myself. I'm usually just like too busy, and I also graduated with a very small class, so it's kind of like I already know kind of what everyone's doing and stuff. So there's not much reunion to do, so it's just kind of like something I don't need to do. But always hear some fun stories from people that go to reunions. Seems like it's always very very interesting. But thanks for stopping by, Luke, and I appreciate the super chat as well. And let me see here. So, um, let me see. Zach says, thanks for the response on Wagoneer S. I was looking for info on release date. Rumors are it's canceled based on charger feedback, but the launch info seems to be like it's full steam ahead. Yeah, no, I mean, I guess it's not completely out of the realm of possibility, but no, if a car is like, basically done, they usually, if it's not done all the way, then there's a chance that they would kill something. But I mean, Wagoneer S is like done, I'm pretty sure. So there's once you're that far, you might as well just put it out there, just because it's already a sunk cost, and so if it's not going to worsen the bleeding, then might as well put it out there. But yeah, no, Wagoneer S is, I mean, there's also like recons that have just been spied in this past week that are driving around, so that's still happening, it seems, too. So no, I think they're still going to go forward with all this stuff. I think they're probably behind the scenes trying to frantically shove gas engines and all these things and trying to figure out like, how do we get this to work, and hammering away at everything they can to figure this stuff out, because a lot of those are these multi-energy platforms. So I think they can probably work all that stuff out, and that's probably what's happening behind the scenes. But the original plan is still holding too, because they have to. Again, they plan this stuff 6 to 8 years out. So this curveball is not something they can just react to very quickly. But Rafi says left lane hogs are everywhere. They need to really put that into new and old drivers. Yeah, and I think this is why I love even like Super Cruise and systems like that get over and automatically do that stuff, for people that are too oblivious to or too selfish to do it themselves. And let me see. Harsher says, that's one thing I like about two-wheelers. You actually need skill and complete concentration compared to cars nowadays. There should be heavier consequences for bad driving. I know. I wish there were heavier consequences, especially for like reckless driving or like, like it always like there was actually just recently locally, there was some reckless driver that was, just a teenager, but they went and crashed a car like last year and killed like 2 of the people in the car. They survived, but like 2 of these people died, and like they're gonna get like 5 to 10 years in jail. And like, to me, those types of things, and things where again someone's not paying attention in their giant truck or whatever, and they take somebody out, even if they don't mean to, like, yeah, there should be, I agree, there should be heavier consequences. Because it's just because these things are like have massive implications for other people that they affect, and like it's like these drivers just get a slap on the wrist, and it's just crazy. Anyway, won't try to get too dark here. But Chad says there's a few states like Texas that will ticket left lane campers. Yeah, Ohio does that as well, but I'm not sure how much they actually enforce it, because every time I've driven through Ohio, there's not good lane discipline there either. Danny says, I'm thinking about my first car already. I need help. If this is a good choice for a car. The car is a 2009 Volvo V50 R design. Wondering if it's a good choice. I think Volvos, especially any older European vehicle, the problem is that parts can be expensive, labor can be expensive, and electrical gremlins often plague those vehicles. A lot of the European stuff is a little more over-engineered, and so therefore more complicated and more likely to break. And so I mean, Volvo makes some pretty reliable stuff, and I've seen some people that have pretty good luck with some of the older Volvos like that. But I would just say be prepared for extra costs there for maintenance and repairs and stuff. If that doesn't bother you, Volvos are very safe, and that's always a really nice perk of them. But I wouldn't count on it being 100% reliable. So that's the other thing I'll say about that. But it would be a fun choice for sure, and something quirky that sounds like it would probably fit your personality, Danny, since you seem like you're really, into those quirky vehicles and these, rare things that I've never even heard of before. I think that'd probably be a good choice from a personality standpoint. Again, it just comes down to how much of a reliability wild card you're willing to, put up with. And let me see here. Goth Rocker says we need real driver's license testing. We give out driver's licenses like candy in PA. Awful. The way people have been driving lately, I almost want a large Cybertruck. Awful drivers. I agree. I think, there's a lot of reasons I think driving this SUV craze and these, truck crazes that we have currently. But I think a lot of it is, licensing has always been so lax here in the States, and this is why, Europe is a much safer place to drive in many cases, especially the countries that really do focus on, again, making it expensive and challenging to get a driver's license, and making sure that it's something that you really want, and that really are able to prove you can do well. And so, yeah, but in between, I think, there's a lot of people that want that larger vehicle because they don't feel safe in smaller vehicles when you have every other person in an F-150 staring down at their phones. Like, yeah, like, how could you feel safe in anything smaller? So I actually totally understand that. And that's part of the rationale for the Mach-E is we didn't want a huge car. So, we at least got a heavy car. With EVs, you at least have weight on your side most of the time. So that part of the physics equation, kind of gives me a little bit of peace of mind. And that way we can have that safety in a way while, having, a vehicle that's not a pain to park and isn't, insanely excessive. It's kind of one of the things I actually like about EVs is they kind of level the playing field from a weight standpoint. Not entirely. A lot of these trucks are still heavier, but at least it's a better fighting chance than being in a 3,500 pound or 4,000 pound vehicle. So, yeah, it's not ideal, but I guess I'm contributing to the problem myself driving a vehicle that's heavy. But at least I know that Beth and I are good, attentive drivers, and leave all the safety stuff on to help us even in the event that we have a shortcoming. But yeah, I agree. I always have said for years licensing should be harder, but it's just there's no incentive to do it. There's just no reason to, from a legislative standpoint, from an insurance standpoint, from a manufacturer standpoint, making it hard to get licenses just hurts the auto industry. And we can't have that. Got to just keep the the profits rolling in for the shareholders. So that's all that matters. But let me see. So, Power Choices, will ever get the Hyundai Envision 74 or something close, even if it's EV? It sounds like they're going to build it, but it sounds like it'll be very expensive and very limited numbers, and probably will still be hydrogen, which will make it, pretty much useless for the 99.99999% of the population in the world. But yeah, I think that's kind of the plan that I've heard. Maybe they'll change course. I'm not sure, but it's an awesome car. But hearing this stuff I've heard, again, that speculation just kind of throws a wet blanket on it and just saps any excitement I have for it, unfortunately. And also, if it'd be so rare, I'll never see one on the streets anyway. So it's kind of like it doesn't exist anyway. But let me see here. Sorry, I missed the other super chats. I don't know why YouTube is not notifying me very well about these. So Chad, thank you for the super chat. He says consolidation save money if they're just rebadged. Yeah, if you can share costs, that's definitely, because it takes more production capacity to do a GMC and a Buick and a Chevy, and it takes some money to do unique styling, do unique interiors, have different staff, different PR firms, different whatever the case. You're multiplying your costs to sell essentially the same vehicle, and so that is kind of the wasteful part that could be cut. And Jordan, thank you for the super chat. Sorry for, I don't know, you retracted it, but thank you for the super chat and subs. Thank you for another super chat as well. He says, thoughts on doing opinion/hot takes on your channel. Someone else mentioned this in the weekly update as well as something they'd like to see more of this past week. And, the opinions and hot takes thing is tough because, I think a sample of how that would go is how the Jag video did. I did a video of me saying everyone's overreacting about the Jaguar ad, and everyone was losing their minds over that. And I thought that was the silliest thing to be freaking out over. I said that, and I mean, that video is the most disliked video I've posted in probably at least 5 years, probably more. And that's the thing is, if I do hot takes, they would have to be hot takes that are popular, things that I know people would agree with me on. But a lot of times I don't agree with a lot of my viewers on stuff, and I like to be a contrarian sometimes. And a lot of times, even if I'm not trying to be that, that's just how I end up landing on a lot of these things, is I see things sometimes differently than the popular opinion. And, so that's, I just like, for example, I could do a rant about how I think everyone's railing against the Charger EV when I think it's a cool vehicle and I think they should give it a chance. Would that be a popular video? No, probably not. So careful what you wish for. I'm not entirely convinced. I know obviously the 85 of you currently watching in here, I'm sure you'd be very supportive and would be happy to hear my thoughts no matter how crazy they are. But mass appeal, I think I'd probably do more harm for the channel than good, just spouting off hot takes myself. And also, a lot of the hot takes that I would give would end up probably veering into the political side of things because that's going to affect the car industry a lot in the next 4 years. At least I think it will. And we will see. Maybe nothing will change at all, but I'm inclined to believe that's not the way it's going to go. So, a lot of it would be, hope you enjoy these expensive cars because of these tariffs or whatever, things like that I end up saying, and people would get, pissed off or whatever. So, I think for me, hot takes are probably, just something that are probably best left unsaid. Unfortunately, I mean, I like to keep this channel more about car buying advice anyway. Doing opinions and hot takes makes it more about me, and I've never wanted this channel to really be about me, which is probably part of what's hurt the channel because I'm not doing project cars or vlogs or, really talking about my own ownership experience with cars even much, in the past few years. It's just about trying to help people find a car they'll love. That's the thing that makes me passionate and keeps me going with these videos, is trying to help people. And me spouting off hot takes, I don't think it's gonna really help anyone, unfortunately. So that's kind of another reason why I just kind of not been into doing that. And Jordan, thank you for another super chat. He says, any actual USA built cars, nuts, bolts, etc., like 100%, I'm guessing is what you mean. Yeah, and I don't know. I don't actually. I mean, maybe I'm sure there's some boutique like supercars and hypercars that maybe have everything, but I don't even think those. Even a car that they make 10 of, I think there's still got to be stuff that they surely source from another country. I don't think there's anything that's 100% built in the US. As far as all the content, all the suppliers, every part and nut and bolt. I don't think there is. I don't think a single car exists that's like that. So that's why everything will get more expensive, because it's not 100% US. If again these things go forward the way that they've been talked about. So yeah, and I see Harsher says 8 p.m. time to wrap up. Yes, we will wrap up. I'm going to hit the last couple of super chats here quickly. I'm going to try and see if I can hit as many of the member questions here as I can in the next few minutes. I unfortunately will not be able to weigh in on any of the other non-member questions here, just to try and stick to our 2-hour limit here. But Chad, thank you for another super chat. He says, Happy New Year from Jordan and me, everyone. I appreciate that, Chad and Jordan. Thank you guys so much for all the super chats here tonight and for all the support here this year in general. I really appreciate that. Chad also says, do you purposely make sure your phone is on a certain song/channel when you show infotainment? Usually no. It's usually just whatever has been playing most recently that shows up there. I always wonder if anyone actually notices or pays attention, because sometimes it is like a goofy, like oddball kind of song that no one's ever really commented on it. So I kind of just assume that flies under the radar. But there's a couple of times, like in the Defender review that I did, recently, that one I was playing the song that was playing on the infotainment was the chase instrumental, like soundtrack from No Time to Die, whenever Bond is being chased by a bunch of defenders, and I kind of did that as a cheeky little thing to throw in there. No one commented on that, so it's all good, but it was a fun little kick that I did for myself, just to kind of tie that in and see if anyone would kind of make that connection. But yeah, usually it's mostly a random thing. But Jordan, thank you also for another super chat. He says, if you tried to connect your iWatch as genuine as showing a key fob. So I think you mean, connecting my Apple Watch to the car as a key fob. I think the Ford Pass, actually, that app does allow me to like control the Mach-E through the watch, as far as like, climate control stuff, turning the car on, basic stuff like that I can do through the watch. But it's just because it's tethered to the phone. I don't think there's any way to do. I think maybe you can do that with the NFC. I think you can be able to do the watch on its own, but I'm not sure how much I'm able to do with the watch. I've never honestly really tried. And I don't actually even keep any music on my watch or anything. So I'm not sure, Yeah, I'm pretty sure that probably wouldn't work, but yeah, I know we've talked about that in the past. But I never have time to like sit there and play around with Bluetooth in the car. Usually, I'm like just trying to sync my phone as fast as possible, and I'm racing off to the next thing I have to do because I'm just so insanely overloaded all the time. So, but thank you again, Jordan, for the super chat there. Nightbreaker, thank you for a super chat. He says, "Hi, man. Hope you've had a good weekend. On Tuesday, I'm planning on testing the Golf GTI, the Launcher N, and Mazda 3. Long day. Which should I choose?" That's going to come down to a lot of context. If you have any extra context you'd like to provide, definitely all my contact info is in the description. You can send me a message on whatever platform you'd like there, and I'll be more than happy to drill into which one would be the best for you and what your needs and wants are. Personally, again, with no other context, the one I would pick would be the Elantra N. It's the most fun. It's the highest performing. Has the most character of the bunch, and is just the one that I would have between those three. If price doesn't matter, if nothing else matters, it's just fun or whatever, I'd say Elantra N is easily the winner. By a long shot. So if that helps you a little bit. And it says, I'll shoot you a message later. Thanks for your feedback. Absolutely. And yeah, I'm more than happy to chat back and forth with you because that's why I do this. I love helping people make a decision that they'll enjoy or the car they'll love. So absolutely. And thank you again for the super chat there, Nightbreaker. And I'll do the last couple little member questions here. And then I will head out. I apologize for anyone. I think I did a good amount of non-member questions tonight, though. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that aren't members. But hit the last few members here, and then we will head out. So Raphael says, I'm not criticizing anyone, but I had a Prelude, and I don't remember it as this super powerful sports car. Nice car, though. And that is really true. The same kind of people that, were mad about Integra, they were thinking of Integra Type R. And, that's great, but that wasn't what the hundreds of thousands of Integra owners experienced. They experienced a regular vehicle that was a nicer Civic in many ways. That's exactly what they're doing with the new ones. Same thing with Prelude. The only thing I will say is Prelude was a little more daring in the original iterations. They had four-wheel steering. They had some, I'd say, bolder styling, and just a little more experimental and a little more daring. I think Prelude is playing it a tiny bit safe, but yeah, I agree with you for sure. I think it's mostly staying in its lane and it's staying true to its roots. But yeah, everyone just wants everything to be 1,000 horsepower race car, and I'm burned out with the comments on that kind of stuff as well. And Trent Car Guy says, Mopar fans being more open-minded, don't get your hopes up. Yep, I know. And Goth Rocker says, stopped at my Ford Lincoln dealer. They love the Dodge Charger EV. They said new Mustang sales are doing really well, especially the EcoBoost selling as well as V8 sales. Waiting list for both. Wow, interesting. Yeah, I assumed that would be the case. Is Mustang's last one standing. So all those Camaro people, all those Charger and Challenger people, they're going and buying a Mustang. And I think, it sounds pretty likely that we're still going to get a four-door V8 manual Mustang as well, actual real sedan. And then, forget about it for Charger. Because then it's like, it's no contest. Maybe by the time that comes out, Dodge will have found a way to shoehorn a V8 into a Charger somehow or something. I don't know. But yeah, that makes sense. I can totally, that makes, can easily envision Ford dealers being very happy about Dodge's decisions recently. And Trent Car Guy says, I'm sure New Z would do better if they dropped the price a bit. Yeah. And I hope they will fix that because, again, it seems like Nissan is making some better decisions recently, so I hope they come to their senses with Z. And Goth Rocker says, Matt, the one thing I will say, you should get a redo of the new Z Nissan Z review. I am telling you, those tires were really messed up. You should try it again for the Nismo. I know, and I think I will try another one. There was one that was potentially offered to me, I think at some point earlier this year, but I was so busy and I was just like, you know what? Like, I just decided not to accept it because I just had other stuff I needed to do. And I was just like, I'm not going to revisit this now, but maybe next year that's something I can revisit again. And see if the tires are just messed up. Cause I know everyone else says really good things about Z Nismo, and just was not my experience, unfortunately. And let me see. Harsher says, as a kid born in 2002, I watched a lot of Fast and Furious movies. The Skylines and Zs were very iconic and allowed Nissan to bring the GTR to the States. For my generation, those cars are special. Yeah, same here. I mean, that's the same as me. I mean, I was born in 90, so a little bit earlier, but same kind of mentality. I mean, the Fast and Furious really opened my eyes to car modding, and seeing that as a very impressionable, 12-year-old, when that came out. It's those GTRs hold a very special place in my heart as well. And let me see. Cara says, I didn't know about the amazing lease deals in Colorado until viewing your live streams. In contrast, the lowest I found in PA was a 500E at $146 a month in McMurray. I didn't know about here in Oregon. Interesting. I hadn't seen the $146 a month in McMurray. I'll have to check that out. I don't know, what dealer is in McMurray. I'll have to look into that. But thanks for the heads up. Maybe they'll be able to beat the price of the other dealer I'm working with for the 500E. We'll see if someone can get me one cheap enough that I eventually pull the trigger on that. But let me see. I see someone's responding to Mari's question here that I remember. So we quickly see. He says, I want something that's relatively lightweight and some experience that's going to be different from other cars I've owned in the past, like Evo, Mark 7 GTI. Think about first row drive sports car. Think whether to buy a G86 or modify it at my own taste, or get an S2000. So, I mean, I think both would be really great choices. It comes down to, again, how many, do you want something that's 20 years old, or do you want something that's, modern and fresh? If the modern and fresh thing doesn't matter to you, I'd say S2000 is a more special experience. But I think GR86, in my opinion, is a higher performing sports car potentially. And personally, like I like having, Bluetooth. I like having safety that's, modern. Those types of things. I personally would go GR86 out of those two. But I mean, S2000s are probably only going to go up in value, so probably a better investment there, in the short term. And also just, it's a special car, and that's why they're going for big money still, and will continue to do so, I think. So hopefully it helps you a little bit there. Can't go wrong with either choice, though, in my opinion. And let me see. Jordan says, please do a reel of trying to connect your watch to infotainment. All right, I will see if I can find the time to do that here in the new year, and see if I can. I'll try and see if I can figure that out and see if there's a way to do that. Because no one's probably covered it, so it'd be a fun little oddball video that no one, people be like, oh, interesting, one of those things that no one's ever really thought about. Hyper Shadow says, Mateus Maranellius, I'm glad to have been a part of your channel's membership this year. I appreciate everything you do, and I wish you a 2025 with tons of views, success, and happiness. Onwards. I appreciate that. Thanks so much for your support, Hyper Shadow. Thanks for everyone's support here. I see everyone else kind of signing off here. Also, sorry I missed the other last few lives, super chats here. Jordan, thank you for a super chat. He says, Matt, 8 to 11 p.m. No joke. For me it's 9, so we're going on a little after 11 here for that. Chad says, Matt 2028, let's get moving. I appreciate that, Chad. Thanks for this super chat again, and all the super chats here. And Jordan says, with members and super chats, gotta be 8 to 11. I appreciate it's been fun doing these all year. I really enjoyed these this year. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed these as well. And I see Austin also saying Happy New Year to all of us. Have a great week. Yeah, you guys as well. Hope you're all having a great rest of your 2024 here. Hope 2025 is good for all of us. And we will just have to wait and see. Hopefully things stay affordable. Hopefully things are good and peaceful and happy. Goth Rocker is also weighing in there on the Volvo. Spy Harpy, thanks for stopping by, and says Happy New Year as well. And Goth Rocker as well saying the same. So I think we've just about caught up here. So thank you all so much for hanging out and on a Saturday night here with me. I hope you all, again, have a great rest of your year. Have a great new year here. Stay tuned. Lots of good stuff here coming in 2025. I have some media drives already lined up. Got lots of fun press cars already lined up here. Gonna keep on doing my thing. I'm looking forward to seeing how these new videos do, like I talked about in the weekly update here. I appreciate all the hearts and the support there, the emojis. But hoping that these new little weekly update clips do well, and hope that we can have some more fun times here on the channel and a long, long life here for this channel here, hopefully. But thank you all once again for watching. Happy New Year. And make sure you also stay safe out there here this new year, and be safe, and just have a good responsible time. So anyway, thank you all so much, and take care. Have a great rest of your weekend.